Hey there, I'm Rachel. I'm a photographer and I take pictures of myself by myself. I get a lot of questions about how I take my pictures, and there are a lot of YouTube videos out there showing how to do that, but I think there's a lack of videos showing how to edit. So today I'm going to show you how I edit my pictures using the Lightroom app on the phone. It is free to use, iOS and Android can get it. So today I'm going to show you my basic edits for what I usually do. So I'm going to open the Lightroom app on my phone here and we will get the photo open. I'm going to go through some of the first things I do to every photo and we'll take it from there. So looking at this, it's very dark, I'm kind of washed out, the greens are very green. So first thing I want to do is start editing the colors. I like editing colors first so I can get a feel for the style that I'm going for. So I'm going to open up color. Now for me, I need to go a little bit warmer. I am very white, so I'm going to add a little bit more orange to that. I don't touch the tint. That affects the shadows. Not a problem, we'll leave it. Now I always bring the vibrance up pretty high. That looks crazy right now, but we're going to take the saturation down to make up for it. I've just found that this is what works for me. I'm sure you could do it vice versa, lower vibrance, higher saturation, but this is the look that I like. So that looks pretty good right there. Custom white balance, typically just leave it. So now we're going to go to this color mixer, and this is where you can really get down to each individual color and change them. I always jump to the oranges and the yellows first. That is my skin tone. It's really important to get skin tone looking correct, and then the rest of the image can come after. If you don't look right, it's going to throw off the entire thing. So I need to look a bit more human and less washed out. So I'm going to bring the orange a little bit more red, bring the saturation up, and for me, a trick to looking more tan is to bring the luminance down. I'm going to bring it all the way down. See how it's affecting my skin? We're not going to go that far, but we're going to go just a bit. Orange is looking good. Let's go to the yellow. Again, with the yellow, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more to the orange side of things. Saturation up. I really want those yellows to pop. My pictures are the orange teal color grading. Plus I have orange hair, so it kind of just works. Right, luminance. Sometimes I drag these around just to see how it's going to affect the image. And I think I'm going to pull it up. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah, we'll pull this up too. There we go. Okay. We might come back to it, we'll see. Green. Green is really important to change. I like to make it more teal because we're doing the orange teal look. So let's pull that really high up. I know it looks crazy. It happens a lot, but we're going to fix it. We're going to pull the saturation way down. There's a lot of photos out there where they have these like kind of grayish, deep tealish greens, and this is how they do it. They pull it all the way up to the green and they pull the saturation down. Okay. Again, I'll just kind of like play with this, see what it looks like, and we'll go there. Tip, greenery and foliage is, yes, it looks green to us, but a lot of times it's yellow in Lightroom. Like it's, the color it picks up is yellow. So really, you can see how much it's affecting that greenage back there. So I'm going to keep the luminance up, but let's pull that saturation back down again. Oh, there. See, now we're getting to something. Cool. I'm liking that. Go up a little bit more. We don't go too crazy with the lightness. You know, I don't want to blow it out. But I think... Oh, that's cool. Again, sometimes I just play around with them just to see what's going on. I'll go back. Okay, there. Alright, teals, let's see where it's affecting. It's not really touching much. We'll leave that. Blues, aha, sky. So, again, orange and teal means we need to have teal in the picture. There we go. So with the sky, the luminance, if you pull it down, it'll make it a deeper, darker blue. If you pull it up, it'll wash it out. I like to have deeper blues. That's a nice contrast between the whites and the other foliage in the picture, so I pull that down. Typically I won't touch the saturation because I don't want it to be like a crazy, crazy blue sky. Purples, there usually isn't a whole lot in the image. Sometimes photos will have what's called chromatic aberration. It comes from the camera lenses and it's just like kind of a glitch that happens when it's picking up light. If you want to make sure to avoid any of those little glitchy spots, just pull the saturation all the way down and you're probably going to be good. And magenta, again, there really isn't much in photos too often, just depends on what's in your image. Okay, so I haven't touched red yet. Red can be tricky. I'll pull that up, it's just my lips. So we're good. Now, that's typically what I do. At this point, I've gone through every color. I'm gonna go back and tweak the ones that I think still need finessing. So usually that's my skin tone. That's the hardest one to do. So let's pull it down. There we go. That is so much better. Again, it's helping that real human color come back into the image, so I need some help on that. I'm sure a lot of you won't need to do this nearly as much, so just play with it until you look like a normal human being. Okay, you know what? That looks pretty good. Let's just stop there for now on the color, and we can come back and tweak it if we need to. Okay, so color is done. We're gonna close that up. Now we're gonna go to light. So now that I've affected all the color in the image, now I'm going to change how bright or dark it is. This is just my preferred process. A lot of people will say to start with light and then go to color, but it's whatever works for you. So again, for me, being a very white person, I sometimes have to bring the exposure down just a tad. And then I almost always go straight to the shadows and I pull those up along with the blacks. And I don't know if it's just something that I've decided upon, but if I match the shadows and the blacks, whether it's to the right or to the left, it seems to look better. I don't know why. So we'll do that, and then I go straight to the whites because I need to be less so. So we're gonna pull those down, and again, I do the same thing with the highlights and the whites. I match them up, whether I've pulled them down or pulled them to the right. I think it has something to do with just keeping everything super balanced. It's probably the best way to go to keep it looking natural. So this is looking much, much better. I'm not going to touch the contrast. I almost never touch it. You should be changing the contrast manually using the highlights and shadows and things. Alright, curves are very important. I'm going to link below a video by BestDressed. She does a lot of cool photography stuff and DIY videos, but she goes super into depth on how to do this curve tool. And I don't want to take up time explaining how it works, but if you remember one thing about the curves, just match up all the lines. I go to this little spot, this quadrant, and I pull it up just a bit. It's going to make the highlights more highlighted, and then I go to this quadrant and I pull it down. It's going to make the shadows darker. So I try to keep them on the line, just so I have a nice visual reference. I'm going to copy this curve on the green and on the blue. And when I do this, it's going to increase the color contrast in the image, but it's not going to change the colors. It's changing the colors now, but if you keep those lines lined up as best as you can, you won't notice a difference. Okay, we got the curve tool done. So as you can see here, I have gone through each one and I've matched up the points as close as I possibly can. But by doing that, the actual image hasn't changed very much except for the contrast in it. And I don't know the specifics on how it works exactly, but this always looks really, really good. So I'm gonna hit done. And I did not touch the white one or this one. I typically don't. Those will affect the overall highlight and contrast, and again, we kind of already did that with the light settings. So this is looking good. Something I have noticed though is there's some really bad outlining and blurring there in the background. So I need to go back to probably the color and affect the luminance on those colors specifically. So I'm going to start with yellow because that is the foliage, and I probably brought it too far down. So if I start bringing it up, kind of helping-ish. Let's try the blue. Okay, there we go. See, if I pulled it way down, it'd be more obvious. If I start pulling it back up, it starts to blend more naturally. So we're gonna try and keep it as dark as we can, but still keep it looking natural. We don't wanna go too crazy with that. So that looks pretty good. I'm liking that. Alright, so I'm kinda happy. Again, we're gonna have to go back and adjust things. Once we did those curves, it made things a bit darker. So let's go back to the light here. Go to those shadows, because that's the part that's the darkest. And bring them up just a little bit more. Bring them up. There we go. Alright. And the white's down just a bit more too, because we made those brighter. Very cool. Okay. I like that. That looks good. So one-ish more thing that I do is I go to effects. This is some pretty cool stuff in here. So, but dehaze. Ugh. When I figured this tool out, it was amazing. This like cleans up and makes it more clear somehow. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like crazy. If your image feels kind of washed out, pull up the dehaze and it's just like somebody just cleaned it up, dehazed it. It's great. Vignette, depending on the image, you can kind of do that. Oh, I forgot to crop it. Let's go crop the image. Crop it. We need to do 4x5 is the Instagram portrait croppings, and I usually do that. I like to show as much of the image as I can. So we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna crop off my belly because I'm not really interested in showing that. And we're gonna go right there. Wonderful. Great. I think I'm done. I'm pretty happy with it. Maybe those yellows are a bit white still. Again, this is something I personally deal with. I guarantee many of you won't. I have photographed many tanner people, just basically anyone but me, and when I apply these basic edits, they just look amazing instantly, and it's not fair. So you probably won't do all this extra work, but if you happen to do, just go back, adjust the highlights, adjust the whites, because the whites are the ones that are going to be most blown out, and then work it. So I've made my final tweaks to the lighting and color, and I am happy with this. What we can do is see how we've changed it. So here is the original, and here's the after. As you can see, I changed the colors to be more teal and orange for the color grading that I prefer, and we fixed all those super dark darks and super bright whites. So that is my basic edit and how I edit most of my pictures.